I stay home, you go to work. I'll sleep in your Jesus shirt. Lose your ID to the bar. Who's that kid getting on the streetcar? Waiting in line, queuing out for the very last time. Waiting in line for you. And if I wait, come and see me. I'll be lying in stage, waiting in line for you to fake it and take the pill. I'll sleep on the windowsill. Sophie says she's gonna pay you back, but how can you trust a hippie like that? Waiting in line, queuing out for the very last time. Waiting in line for you. And if I wait, come and see me. I'll be lying in stage. I'll even use the same excuse that you did, yeah. She held you in the palm of her hand under the fake palms on the wall. Tattoos on the face of the man in the fur coat in the hall. He doesn't blink or hold a drink or work at the grocery store. You study the sink and you try not to think what breed of dog protects the back door. I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know. No. Waiting in line, queuing up for the very last time. Waiting in line for you. And if I wait, come up and see me. I'll be lying in stage, waiting in line. I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know. I don't wanna ever know.
'89.3 The Current. I'm Mary Lucia. That was Kiwi Jr. live here in our virtual session. Let's say hello to the band. Hello, friends.
Hey, Mary.
Hey.
I have a fun fact that I can't prove. Minneapolis is further north than Toronto.
I think that is true, actually. I think I remember hearing that from somebody in Minneapolis before.
Right. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Where did you hear the fact, Mary?
I don't know. Someone told me. And I thought, can I fact check that? But then I figured, no. So here we are, the new record, which is Cooler Returns. I really am curious because this is the second record for you guys on Sub Pop, and I don't even know in this day and age, how does somebody get signed to a label anymore when everything is like careers made on TikTok and stuff? How did you guys get signed proper?
Yeah, well, we put out our first record in 2019, and we got some pretty good press with that one, and some people at Sub Pop heard it and liked it enough just to reach out to us. Yeah, it was pretty simple. Yeah, it was unexpected, but it was pretty cool for us.
So within this I don't know why I want to make the assumption that Canada is far advanced in terms of vaccination and it all being a lot smoother than it is in the U.S., but how has that been going?
It's actually the opposite of what you just described.
Really?
You guys, yeah, we're way behind. The States has ramped it up and is moving a lot quicker than Canada, which makes it kind of tricky because, you know, there's probably certain parts of the States that are looking to open up live shows again, whereas like we're nowhere close to that in Toronto. So it's just kind of tricky right now with different parts of the world being further along than other parts.
I can only imagine that makes the potential for, there are some shows being announced, but it's almost with a little bit of there's some hesitation and people wanting to go, get your tickets for Dinosaur Jr., even though they were one of the first bands to announce a show proper. But I guess when you're thinking, would you think about starting in Canada if you were going to play some live shows, say this summer, or would you think about booking something in the U.S.?
It's all just pretty tricky right now. There's just no way of knowing when it's going to be safe for us to do that here. Things are pretty wild. But logistically, it would probably be easier than crossing the border, just because we don't really know when that's going to open up for musicians. And we'll probably start with a Toronto show, I bet.
And just with the idea of having a record, a great record, I might add, comes the hopes of being able to perform these songs live in a way that's maybe other than a virtual thing like this. Because would you consider yourself a band that feeds off of an audience's energy live?
I'd say definitely. That's, most groups would probably say the same. But I found even when we were doing our live sessions that we were sort of recording on our own, we had to really sort of ramp them up for ourselves, because normally we can, you have the benefit of being able to rely on audience being there and being enthusiastic and, giving you a pat on the back when you finish a song instead of looking over at the sound person and saying, "So was that okay?"
I think I clocked Cooler Returns at 36 minutes, which I personally love. I remember seeing The Strokes when Is This It came out, and they really had 34 minutes of material on their first go-round live. And I've often wondered, does that sort of put you in a situation where you're forced to learn some weird covers when you only have like a 34-minute set in the beginning?
I don't think we have played too many covers, only a few in the past. We'll do things where we'll have a song in a set and then after 2 gigs realize that no one likes it and we'll cut it. So, by cutting a lot of songs, that's kind of how you get it down to, 36, 34, 35 minutes.
And do you think, too, that with the quarantine, I've talked to quite a few bands, because I've been at work every single day, so I haven't really had any of that work from home experience. But the thing I kept finding during the quarantine with bands was somehow everyone decided to take up baking. Any of you now proficient at scone making? Because for whatever reason, it was like, besides the terrible tragedy of loss and all of that, there was a lack of toilet paper and increase of scones, I think, in the last year.
I think I remember hearing about a flour shortage, but I can't say that it really affected my personal household.
I guess, again, things like a pandemic and this sort of forced isolation, whatever that means to you. As songwriters, how much have you guys worked individually and how much were you able to actually be together and even hang in one room? Or were you?
Well, last summer, the numbers in Toronto were very, very low.
Yeah.
So we were able to safely get together and rehearse and record this album. But now, like these days, it's really ramped up, the case count. So we haven't seen each other for a while or had the chance to do much recently at all.
The development, sort of in the latter stages, just before we went into record, was really nice respite from having to stay inside, and because it was, we were able to, as Jeremy mentioned, because it was safe for us to do so. So that was just really nice, and I feel like that enthusiasm really fed into the tracks as well.
Yeah, and then again, I mean, I'm sure you had to do it where it was not that you would have had an entourage in the studio, but maybe you would have. But it's just the sort of limited down to the most essential people that have to be in the studio. Who was it that was with you?
That's totally correct. In the studio, it was just us four and our engineer, and that was Graham Walsh, who we worked with on the last record as well. And yeah, it was a bit of a different vibe in the studio at the start. He's behind glass. He's not really coming out and hanging out in the room with us. He's kind of stuck in the booth with a mask on, just peering out over the window every once in a while, giving thumbs up and thumbs down. But we got used to it pretty quick. And yeah, by the second or third day, things were rolling, I think, pretty well.
And are you the kind of band that has things sort of demoed to death before you get into the studio, or are you able to write once you get in there?
We definitely did, with this album, record just a lot of our live rehearsals. Mm-hmm. So we would, just put an iPhone in the middle of the room, and that would be the extent of it. No, we don't really, create these pretty elaborate demos, or look, I know some bands do. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we do definitely allow for some, creativity and spontaneity in the studio where, somebody might have an idea for just a keyboard line or something like that. But for the most part, everything is pretty tracked out. We kind of know what we want before we get in there, I think.
Do you guys live close to each other?
Yeah, we all live in the West End of Toronto. Yeah, we're not like super close, but we're all within a short bike ride distance.
Have you ever just run into one of you at, Walgreens or whatever you have in Canada?
Did Jeremy?
Yeah,
you saw Mike walking. Jeremy, you saw Mike walking down the street with his bass once, right?
Yeah, I thought he was going to join another band. I was like, what's going on?
I don't think I had a case either, did I?
No, just a
maybe
loose
took
bass.
Bass in the wild.
I think that something that comes across with your music, your songs, and especially with this record, which I find funny that people want so desperately to make you explain. To me, it just seems like you're friends and you're kind of making each other laugh, and you guys think the same things are funny. And I think that's about all I need. Like, I feel like people want more. They want you to tell them more about this particular line of this song is so clever and why and who and what. It's just like, I don't know, if you get people who like each other and have the same sense of humor together, this is what happens.
I think maybe that demand is a positive thing
That's
as well,
nice.
right? If people are asking those questions and they want to know, I mean, first and foremost, they're interested, but then also there must be something intriguing about what's being said. And it's nice when there's not necessarily ambiguity, but when there's just something interesting and layers that have yet to be uncovered. I think that makes for a pretty good listening experience. If every lyric is so straightforward, it can be finished with a record pretty quickly. I probably shouldn't speak on that behalf. Jeremy writes all the lyrics, but personally.
Well, it's just, these are just so strange, these interviews to me, because again, I mean, I would normally be saying, all right, so when, we look forward to seeing you here in town, whenever, But the new record, which we here at The Current have absolutely been loving, Cooler Returns, you guys are going to do the title track from that. And I want to thank you all for your time. And I can't believe so nobody's had like a dog or a cat walk past the camera or a child come screaming into the room. This is all the things that I've already experienced, but you guys all have these very controlled environments, it seems.
I actually, right on the other side of this door, have my upstairs neighbors moving out, and there's like mattresses being hauled down the stairs and stuff. So I thought maybe you could hear that, but good to know that you can't.
Nice. Do you ever
I'm
notice
also
that
sitting next to an unpacked room with boxes everywhere. So if I shift my camera a certain way, it exposes the truth.
Are you moving or are you moving
I just moved. Yep. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And is anything on fire in your world?
Not yet. Leaky pipe, but other than that, we're pretty safe, we think.
You know, do you find that when you just moved, who helped you move? Because that's who a real friend is.
That was a complicated situation just because of all the restrictions in place. But I'll just say no one on this call.
Thanks. Well, thank you again so much for your time. And again, the record is called Cooler Returns, and we hope to see you guys, I guess we'll just say on the other side of this. And you guys are going to do Cooler Returns now for us live here. It's 89.3 The Current. It's a virtual session with Kiwi Jr.
1, 2, 3, 4. Super Bowl Sunday, 2020. I did not feel well leaving the hotel. Said a long goodbye to a big dollar bill. See you again at the reading of the will. Sherwood Forest, Ranger retires. Falconers Complex, and Diners on fire. It's not fair to be strung out on the back of your ATV, throwing dead birds into the air, singing howdy neighbors, how do you like my new ride? And now I can see that after spending some time apart. But that's a cost of doing business. That's the price for healthy horses. Big decisions, cooler return shows, new revisions, 2 minutes to pose. I don't want to task you out, but can you break this vibe for the jukebox, Jody? They've got big ideas about police and thieves and graduate degrees, and I'm just trying to visualize some laundry on a line. It's my funeral from the angels I view. I get carried away in the wake of the make it new. Now I'm stuck north by northeast, learning object permanence again. I am not American, but I feel the beat sometimes when I run into the screen door at the retreat, trying to learn the new lines backwards, forwards through the old racket club archway. Can't miss anyone again. I was never one for trying